Yes, I'm based in Houston, but as you can hear from my accent, I'm not originally from there. I'm actually from Germany. And I don't do breakdance. I might do polka dance, but only after sunset and when I had at least a couple of glasses of beer before that. So, but what I also learned is freebies work quite well. So I do have a freebie for people who will ask a question later on. So it's a USB stick. Does anyone recognize what this is? Well, I think you were the first one, so I give it to you. So yes, it is an oil can or motor oil bottle, because I work in passenger car motor oil or consumer lubricants, as it's known as well. I'm actually part of a team of 15 global customer insights managers, and we're all dotted around the globe, and and we cover both. We cover fuels. So that the gasoline that goes into your car and lubricants, basically that stuff that goes inside your engine. So I also want to, well, thank you for pointing out, but I guess I wrote it, so I asked for it. 25 years, yes, thank you to everyone who congratulated me on my 15-year anniversary on LinkedIn. And before that, I worked agency side for a number of years, so I know both sides. Okay, I've filled in enough timesheets on my lifetime that I know what it's like to be on the vendor side, and so I have empathy for both, and hopefully I can share also some useful tips and hints for both sides. So maybe just by show of hands, so how many of you are agency side? Client side is the rest. Okay, good. That's a pretty good mix here. So let me tell you what I'm gonna talk about in the next sort of 30 minutes or so, and we'll hopefully leave some room for questions as well. So I'm gonna talk about becoming that trusted advisor and generating that end user buy-in, so inside the organization. So really by end user, it's obviously your internal audiences, your brand team, your channel teams, your marketing teams. I mean, those are really the people that the target. We're obviously not talking about end consumers here. So I have my presentation split in two parts. So the first part I'm going to talk about a little on our own journey as a global customer insights team. I mean, we only actually came together as a team about 18 months ago, so still, pretty fresh as a global insights team. And then my second part of the presentation, that's where I'm going to showcase how we embedded the learnings of some ethnographic research on Hispanics and with the Quaker State brand. Okay, so both Quaker State and Pennzoil are Shell brands. They have been around literally for 100 years. So Shell actually never rebranded them because there's just so much equity in both of them. But they are both part of the Shell family. And then hopefully by sharing those tips, I can demonstrate the value really any insights team can bring to the organization. And at this point, I also want to introduce my friends from BAM. So Ed, Gary, Anthony, Martin from BAM are here. They actually helped me with this ethnographic project. And when it comes to Q&As, I might ask them to throw me a lifeline. So. And they're also going to hand out those handy-dandy USB sticks. Okay, so talking a little bit about the journey. So what I would encourage any insights team to do is really spend a little bit of time and define sort of that team identity or that that team essence, and what kind of support you want to provide to your, in our case, global stakeholders, and then also to your more local teams as well. Like I said, there are just 12 of us. So we need to think about, how we prioritize projects. So we literally did this 18 months ago. When we got together as a team, we literally locked ourselves in a hotel room for 2 days, and we plotted this out. So So on one hand, you have the data provider and all the way up to the oracle or the holy grail of market research, whatever you want to call it. And so we decided, okay, we want to be that co-pilot that comes alongside those brand managers and marketing teams, that expert advisor, seen as challenging but also as trusted. And then for the local teams, we decided, okay, you know what, I mean, we can't be everything to everyone. So for those, we decided we wanted to be the best practice provider. So what does it mean? We actually developed some toolkits on specific things, for example, advertising pre-testing or concept testing, and which included kind of the methodology and also what vendor they should use. So let's say a local team from Indonesia came to us, hey, I want to do some testing. I said, okay, take this toolkit, just follow it, call up the research agency, they can help you with that. So that really kind of freed us up to do fewer but bigger and also more strategic projects. I mean, okay, we may still only do about 200. I mean, we are not Johnson & Johnson. I mean, we are not doing 12,000. But still, 200 amongst a small team is probably quite a lot. So you do have to, work out what your priorities are. So once we decided, that we wanted to be that co-pilot, we also had to define kind of the behavior and personality that we wanted to display. So starting at 12 o'clock on this slide, and I just want to really just highlight some of the ones I put in blue, some of the more important ones, where we wanted to be seen as innovative and creative and inspiring. I mean, really, we think of this like your brand. This is really your CVP, as a customer insights team. What do you want to stand for? And then we even designed a team logo, as you can see down on the left. So it has the shell colors. It looks a little bit like neurons or synapses. Kind of a bit like a brain, basically connecting the dots. I do have to say that wasn't really our idea. So when we were in Amsterdam during that team meeting, we actually met with Heineken, and Heineken did that. So we stole that idea, but it really had quite a profound impact because it literally gave us a visual identity, overnight. And also when you are not, in the room all the time, obviously all of the brand teams, they shamelessly steal your slides. So you're still in the room, even when you're not in the room. So we just wanted to have that, on the slides, and it did get recognized, and we got a lot of positive feedback about that. Just a small thing, but it did make a difference. So we also wanted to see us proactive and influential, seen as a subject matter expert, but also having that commercial mindset and challenge in a constructive way. So how many people have seen this slide? Or this? No one? Okay, so actually, what was quite interesting then, so earlier in the year, the WFA, which stands for the World Federation of Advertisers, together with Brain Juicer, they actually did a study on exactly this topic, how marketing perceives the insights team, which is the red up here, and how the customer insights team perceives themselves. And you have two axes, so the horizontal goes from reactive to proactive, and the vertical goes from, micro, sort of really, detailed numbers, all the way to macro, so really being sort of business-minded and strategic, okay? But I am happy to also, I see people taking pictures, I'm happy to share this, and also this is not really my slide anyway, so I put the source on here. But it is a really interesting article. I encourage you to read it. So they then plotted five typologies on here, and so which goes, from all the way from librarian to, strategic consultant. And I want to add that this is the ideal scenario, okay? So they also have another slide which actually comes before this one, which is the current, which is not as favorable, okay? So actually, the librarian down here is a lot bigger in the, in the current scenario. But this is the ideal. But the good thing on the ideal is that both marketing and consumer insights agree, that we should really be proactive and highly macro. But what I really want to talk about is about those enablers, okay? So what can get you into the direction, of this explorer, of this strategic consultant? And what they found out as part of this study, that actually the new innovative research techniques like ethnography and having really good communication skills can really help you along that journey to be perceived as this more strategic sort of consultant. There are other things like behavioral science or storytelling. I mean, it's been mentioned many times. That's obviously, it's also really important. Plus even physical, like location. So if you sit with a marketing team literally in the same office, that is also has a big impact as well. So now I'm going to come to the second part of my presentation. I want to talk to you a little bit about this project that we did with BAM and how we embedded it in the organization. And I thought maybe a good place to start is with a definition, okay? So what does embedding actually mean? So I Googled it. So it's a verb, okay? And it means to fix into a surrounding mass, to embed stones into cement. That was sort of the kind of the definition it gave, but basically to make something an integral part of something else, which kind of gets to it, but I came up with my sort of own three things. Embedding has to go beyond sharing, and it has to have a business impact, and the business needs to take ownership, and hopefully it lives beyond yourself and even the marketing or the brand manager. So Kathy earlier talked about the 3 keys. I'm going to talk about the 4 keys. Again, that's just my own. Basically, again, what I learned through this project and what I thought was really helpful. So I'm going to share this with you. Again, I mean, this is very project specific. But there are things you can do to increase your chances of successful embedding. And I'm going to go through those, one by one. I mean, there's obviously a lot more you can do. And yesterday, the lady, I forgot her name, but the one who introduced this tract, she talked about the Harvard Business Review. And actually last month they published an article which is called How to Build a Functioning Insights Engine. Okay, so that's last month, September's Harvard Business Review. Again, a fascinating read. I would encourage everyone to read it because there's some really good tips in there that go beyond what I'm going to share today because it is a bit more project specific. So then on that last one, on having a communication plan, I will also share some tactical examples with you as well. And but what I want you to do is to look at those more as a menu of different options that you might have at your fingertips. It doesn't mean you need to do that entire list here every single time, but the more you do, the more it increases your chances of successful embedding. But obviously it also depends on the size of your project. You may only want to do this for the bigger projects. So starting with the first two. So being consumer-centric. So let me talk about that for a little bit. So if you can, I would encourage you to be proactive. So what does it mean? You actually come to the business with an opportunity that is obviously rooted in a consumer insight. But again, that will really go a long way, putting you into that position of that strategic consultant. Or when you take someone's favorite problem, especially at a senior level, and you find a solution for it. And those two definitely are worthwhile doing. So let me give you just a little bit of background about this project we did with Hispanics. So we actually knew from previous research, actually from our brand tracker, that Quaker State had a very unique positioning amongst the unacculturated Hispanics. We also know that Quaker State is a #1 motor oil brand in Mexico. And we also know that Hispanics is the fastest growing ethnic group in the United States. So based on those findings, there was a desire to understand that group better. So there was a clear gap in terms of, what are their motivations, what are their needs. So that really made us want to go out and close that gap. The other key is if you can, size the price, of the impact this project has. So again, it doesn't need to be anything, very scientific, but if you get together with your brand manager and if you can outline, okay, we are going to, by doing that, by understanding this audience better, we can grow our business by, X billion gallons or dollars, or even increase our market share. That will go a very long way, because you need to make a case, or you need, especially when you go to, let's say, the channel teams who have to activate against it, they have a lot of different priorities in their day, so it all becomes, you making a case why they should spend time on your project versus someone else's project. So it's about, selling it in and really making a case, why this project is more important than another project they are working on. And have a business owner. Maybe this is sort of an obvious one, but, I think you do need to make sure that who is this main sponsor. Who is your advocate? Because you don't want to embed anything in the organization that no one has asked for. Because otherwise, it will always be an uphill struggle. And especially maybe those more, proactive projects you want to do, first of all, find that sponsor that helps you, sell the project in. And this one, this is actually one of my favorites. Have a communication plan. And it's absolutely critical, that you align yourself, with the marketing planning cycle. Because, this is where the business decides on brand strategy. So you need to be there. You need to be in those meetings. So get on the agenda. So we do this all the time. We actually do it right, right at the beginning of the year. We actually kick off, the customer insights team kicks off the brand planning cycle for Shell. So we actually, have half a day where we get everyone together, the brand teams, the channel teams, even our agencies, and where we, present insights to ensure that, everything they do is grounded, in those findings, and that they just, don't make stuff up. So really, what you need to do is, you need to almost walk backwards. You need to see, okay, when are those, critical milestones, and then, you need to be able to feed really important information in during those times, because people talk about micro moments. I mean, micro moments, I don't know, I've heard it mentioned about 5 times in the last couple of days. It's the same thing, okay? I mean, only talk, you know, when they are open to listening. And it is during those agency briefing meetings, you know, when they're really hungry for information and when they're most likely and open to listening. And then you have a much easier task to implement those findings in the organization. I mean, it's really, I mean, getting the research done is the easy part. And the big job is really getting it actioned in a collaborative way. So, and I'm going to share some more of the tactical communication examples that we used for this project. So, this was a little teaser video we sent out before the agency briefing meeting, just to kind of whet their appetite. So, we were going to share you know, more detailed findings on the day, but we wanted to kind of tease it up for them, you know, for the brand planning meeting. So let me play this for you. And again, I mean, this was a video that we did with BAM, and where we used basically all the footage that they had collected during the field work, or as part of this study. So let me click on that.
Llevamos 8 años casados. Nos conocimos por un primo de ella. Todo es basado en mis hijos y mi familia.
This society, they like to look at good things. So if you go in a car, they're representing. So when they go to places and they see the car, they automatically, they look at you different.
Bueno, yo primero pienso luego en el cambio de aceite, porque es la vida del motor. Eso siempre me lo ha explicado mi papá, te lo dice cualquier mecánico. Si tú haces el cambio de aceite,
you walk in, you know, it's 15 minutes. It tells you, okay, this is what you need. They check your air filter, they check your levels, everything on it. I'm open to learning and trying to do things myself.
So it was just about a minute and a half long. But as you can see, it really summarized kind of the highlights of the research. And I mean, BAM really helped us, push the envelope a bit on this project. Something, we hadn't really done before. We also created a series of different videos, for different audiences. Because, I mean, and that goes back to that kind of snackable content. It's much easier to listen to a video than look at a 60-page report. So, and then, so that was sort of the, what teed up the workshop. And then on the actual day of the brand planning meeting, we had about 2.5, 3 hours on the agenda, so where we debriefed the results, and then we also had a workshop as well, where we actually asked them, so all the participants, okay, for you, what are the key insights? And they already came up with some activation ideas around those key insights. So let me just, there's another short video I have here. This one is just 20 seconds long. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a flavor, what it was like, being there as part of that workshop. So as you can see, just from those few pictures, there was a lot of interaction. I mean, people really got into it. I mean, they really worked hard. They produced some great output, on the initial activation ideas, and then that output then became the input, into the communication briefs, for the next year. So we already did a lot of, work with them and the brand team to, actually help them come up with some activation ideas. So this one is a different, was a different project actually on diesel motor oil. It was a project my colleague did, and it kind of talks to maybe, two of the headings. One is about, taking risk and have some fun, and also have a partner in crime who takes that risk for you. I mean, this was another workshop, but run a little differently, where the participants actually took on personas. Okay, so they actually had a role play. So you can see me up there with a mustache. And I think I was Steve, and so I had to take on a different persona. But again, it really gives you the license to get involved, and you absorb much more of the information, when you do that. So again, it's another great way of really getting everyone immersed, in the information. And then we actually developed a microsite. So when we completed the project, there was then a one-stop shop where you could find, all the information. I mean, all the reports, all the great videos, all those infographics on the customer journeys, all those really nice photography we had. So we put all of that. So this was an email that basically talked about the launch of the microsite, and this is just kind of a screenshot, of the actual microsite, that has all those really pretty pictures on there, and the consumer journeys, as well as the the videos as well. So again, I mean, I would encourage you just to make it easy. Make it easy for your internal audiences to get to that information. And this one is just another example how we actually recycled some existing information. So we actually had from our brand tracker, we had tons and tons of information actually on Hispanics. So we literally tasked BAM again to come up with this one pager. I have to tell, this is version 11, so sorry about all those iterations, but it was well worth it. So just to say again, I mean, make it visual. I mean, people absolutely love this slide because it compares and contrasts the Hispanics against the general pop. It is fine to recycle information, especially when you present it in a new and engaging way. No one will ask how old it is, and no one will question the source. Okay, so but I thought it was just a really nice way, because obviously with ethnography, you don't have a lot of numbers. People still want numbers, unfortunately, especially in Shell. So this was just another way of showing some numbers, but some that we already had in the business. And also another example is have a leave behind. So I'm going to show you something else we did. So we did a nice, we did a nice glossy brochure, and I can pass it around. With all those, because there was such nice photography, and I don't know, probably you guys as well, you know, when you go on vacation and you take all those nice pictures and they always end up on your PC and no one ever looks at it. So I always do Shutterfly, you know, after a vacation because I still want something that I can flick through. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could also do a little magazine, you know, for the work we did? And you know, people love it. They think it's such a cute coffee table book, you know, and it's just, you know, it's just that leave behind and that it creates and that it lives on. There are some other things you can do as well, like, you know, designing, you know, one of the, you know, a smart information platform. We are actually currently in the process of also having a, you know, dynamic knowledge library, probably by the end of the year, you know, where you can search for projects. We also have an image library with all those, you know, with all the pretty pictures we took, and then so what is nice about the image library, so you also get a login, and then, you know, the marketing team can actually download those pictures and they can use it in their presentation, and it just makes it so much more engaging and personable when you actually have a real, you know, customer picture, you know, in there. Oh yeah, so there's one more video I want to share, because I mean, then you guys probably say, oh yeah, you know, videos is great, but you know, I don't have the money to spend on expensive ethnography. Well, you know what, you don't. What we also do now is when a project is completed, you know, just a PowerPoint project, we actually ask the agency to provide a, you know, sort of 3 to 5 minute video on the findings. And you can just do that with, you know, just with PowerPoint. So let me play about a minute of this video. I'm not going to play all of it, but I just want to give you a bit of a flavor of, you know, what is actually, you know, possible with limited funds.
The following highlights findings from the Shell PC11 Packaging Exploratory, conducted in August of 2015. This online qualitative study was conducted with HDEO users across the U.S. to explore what they currently know about the PC11 heavy-duty engine oils, CK4 and FA4, and what is the best way to distinguish between these oils. Generally, awareness of PC11 is low across segments. However, awareness is highest with fleet managers. HDEO users are on autopilot when it comes to shopping for oil. They know exactly what they want to buy before they even approach the shelf. They simply scan the shelf for familiar elements like logos and colors to quickly find the product they had in mind.
So when I approach a shelf, I'm looking not at the price tags or whatever. I'm looking for something I'm familiar with, something that sticks out to me that I already know.
I think that the customer is going to get confused, and when he gets confused, he's going to buy either the most expensive oil or the cheapest oil, depending on the customer, and that might not be the right oil for his car.
Okay, so I just want to kind of give you a bit of a feel for it. Again, I want to challenge you suppliers out there to think a bit more about, you know, how to bring those projects to life and how you summarize those projects in a new and an engaging way. Okay, PowerPoint is dead. I think we all know that. So, you know, what can you come up with? And I mean, I like this one because it also, you know, pipes in some of those interviews they had as well, and it just makes it really, you know, makes it really engaging. So I'm on my last slide now, and then we can open it up to questions. So I just leave you just a moment to read this yourself before I wrap it up. So, I mean, I really loved receiving that. I mean, it was just great, and it really summarized it for me, you know, that it is so important to have a communication plan and you absolutely have to get on the agenda, you know, of the marketing teams. And the second is content. I mean, obviously not any old content, but you know, make it relevant and make it rooted in consumer insights. And then, you know, also have, you know, short snackable content as well. You know, don't hit them over the head with that 60-slide PowerPoint deck. Now, of course, I mean, the end game is, you know, did we create business value that is measurable or that had a measurable impact? Of course, you know, you need to think about, you know, the KPIs you wanna measure, and you need to define those, whatever it might be, you know, brand awareness or brand preference, you know, brand share, whatever. Have we moved the needle? I mean, this is still sort of fresh off the press. So we will start measuring the success next year. I mean, we have our KPIs in place, and we also have a Hispanic agency, and they are currently working on new creative. So I'm really looking forward to tracking the results next year.